We're live. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the gift of your presence. And wow, what a morning. It was electric. I don't know if you were in service, if you realized the first rolling thunder was at the chanting of Roshi Glassman and our Roshi. And then throughout Founders, I think the Founders were speaking to us. It gives new meaning, I think, to that practice as though there's fire upon your head. This was practice as though lightning was about to strike. Well, this morning we're going to unpack the first 3 Bodhisattva precepts, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, in the short amount of time that we have. And then we'll all be able to kind of talk about what arises for us during council that will follow. Yeah, and I thought of this, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, so that's 3. Usually we pick one, normally one of the what we have called the grave precepts, and you get 15 minutes. So I was lobbying for 45 since there are 3. But I'm getting a nod that, or a shaking of the head, that's not going to happen. Thich Nhat Hanh says in his tradition they will do this 3 times. At the prison where I work, we do the Tisarana in Pali, and we do it 3 times. I go to the Buddha, and then the second round is, for the second time I go to the Buddha, for the third time I go to the Buddha, and for all of those, the Dharma and the Sangha. And he has this beautiful way of looking at that. During the first recitation, he says, we turn in the direction of greater mindfulness. During the second recitation, we begin to embody the 3 jewels. And of course, these go by the 3 treasures, the 3 jewels. There's a number of names for them. And then the third time, we vow to help others realize the way of understanding and love and become a source of peace. And I really like that. Now, some of you are a little new, and there's ways that we look at the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Of course, as most of us know, there's the historical Buddha, there's his teachings, immediate teachings, there is his Sangha that he worked with when he was alive 2,500 years ago. But we also look at it from a much broader context. The Buddha, we talk about the Buddha being each one of us. Buddha nature that we all have. Maybe we don't realize that, but we're all Buddhas. The teachings can be all the teachings, not just the teachings that originated from the Buddha. And then further than that, it can go to all phenomena in the world. What we call the 10,000 things. And the Sangha can be looked at as any Buddhist Sangha. Our Sangha, the Sangha in Manhattan that we visited sometime ago last year, but even further can include all sentient beings. Dogen, the founder of our Soto school, had an even different twist on these. And he has these instructions on the precepts. And he talks about the one body, the realized 3 treasures, and the maintained 3 treasures. And it gets a little esoteric, and I will probably oversimplify this a bit, because I've been studying these with a number of others. And as we started with this, it was a little confusing to grasp this. But the one body, three treasures, is kind of what I call the big picture. Mu, one body. The manifested three treasures, Buddha's actual realization, what was realized. So it has a more historic context. And then the abiding, which I really like because it brings it home. That's right here, right now. Our little Sangha, Zen Center of Los Angeles, 2015. Have you picked out this number 3 being important? 3 treasures. We have all these layers of 3. Remember from Jukai, will you maintain them? Will you maintain them well? Will you really maintain them? So 3 is a big number. Now this word refuge. I really like words, and I really like studying them and kind of getting to the heart of what a person or what a sutra is trying to say, or a poet for that matter. Refuge, according to Merriam-Webster, a shelter or protection from danger or distress. A place that provides shelter or protection. Something to which one has recourse in difficulty. I was really taken with the synonyms for this. Asylum, harbor, harborage, haven, shelter, retreat, and a British term which I'd never heard before, bolt hole. A bolt hole. And it's derived from Anglo-French and Latin beginnings and can mean to flee or to fly back. So what are we doing? I mean, what are we taking refuge from? Barbara O'Brien suggests that we seek shelter from the passions, as she says, that jerk us around. From feeling distressed and broken, from pain and suffering, from the fear of death. As I studied and saw the original Pali words, those I take refuge line, they translated literally mean I will undertake to find my home in the Buddha. I will undertake to find my home in the Dharma. I will undertake to find my home in the Sangha. So it's this act of returning. Have you had that sense? I know in speaking to a lot of you that's the case. Sensei Shingetsu tells of her coming here and feeling home, at home. Next football season, which starts in October, will be the start of my 16th year. And I can remember I've always said that I was this closet intellectual Buddhist for years. All I did was read, really into the Dharma. But I hit a milestone birthday and realized I needed a teacher. I wanted a teacher. I wanted a Sangha. And I ended up here at ZCLA. A lot of it due to Dokai, who was my first ZP1 teacher. But I can remember the very first time sitting in this zendo, second zabuton from the back stairs. Back then we were facing the wall. And I sat there and I wept. I'd come home. Sensei Koan has told me a very similar story. And now I have 3 sanghas that I call home. I have this wonderful small sitting group up in San Luis Obispo, where I live, and I have this wonderful prison sangha in San Luis Obispo at the California Men's Colony. This morning we read the older version of the Zen Peacemaker Order. There's a new one which I found on their web, and I don't know if this is going to become the newer version, but I love it. It says, recognizing my place in the circle of life, I take refuge in the Buddha, the oneness of life. I take refuge in the Dharma, the diversity of life. And then this change that I really appreciated. I take refuge in the Sangha, the interdependence of Buddha and Dharma. The interdependence. So that says Buddha and Dharma are not separate. Okay, all that sounds kind of lofty. What do you expect when you take refuge? Do you have some goal in mind by taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha? Some of us have had the romantic notion that when we do this, some wonderful transformation will take place and we will bliss out for the rest of our lives. We will live happily ever after. I now have it on good authority that that's not going to happen. Even the Buddha, who had what I call the summa cum laude of awakenings, reportedly blissed out for a period and then came back and taught. And do you think it was an easy life? Those many years, those decades of teaching with his Sangha? Nope. Is it always going to be easy and blissful in our little Sangha, Zen Center of Los Angeles? Or in my sitting group? Or at the prison? Nope. Over the years, I'll have to say, however, that I've witnessed some pretty amazing shifts. I've seen people change here in the 15 years that I've been here at this Sangha. And I especially see it in the prison, where I've dealt with men that in the early days somebody would tick them off and that meant fight. And that's exactly what they would do. And then they were with Sangha, and this isn't an overnight thing, but they're with Sangha and they sit with Sangha. They sit on their own, and this obviously does not happen in all cases, but in some it does. And it's been an amazing transformation for these guys to take the step backward, take a deep breath before they launch into something saying, hey, that's probably not such a great idea to belt this guy. So, I do have to close but kind of leaving you with a question. So what happens when the place of refuge doesn't feel like a safe haven or a shelter, free from danger or distress? What happens when the shadow sides arise? Greed, hatred, lust, envy, and delusion, like we chanted this morning. And guess what? They will. Roshi talked about the fraction in the koan class. And that numerator, that's the top part of the fraction, includes 10,000 things, even the shadow side. And the final, just a short story about Dogen and the importance of the three treasures. When he was pretty much on his deathbed, very, very sick, low energy, nearing the end of his life, what did he do? He took a banner, put 3 symbols on it: Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and then mustered all the energy he had left, and the story is he didn't have a lot. And he put this banner on a pillar and walked around that pillar saying, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. So we'll have a half hour of silence. There's snacks over at the Sangha house, and we'll reconvene around 11:30. There'll be a bell that will bring us to council, and you folks can help unpack this. Thank you.